everyone, and welcome back to My First Weekend With. It's a rare show. We don't do it that often because you have to wait for hardware to come out, not just software. I'm Peter.
And I'm James.
James, you've never sat at this desk before.
I'm in an unfamiliar territory. It scares me. I always see it from the other side of the camera, of the lens.
From the editing suite or behind the camera as well, yeah. If it helps, this is the fourth My First Weekend With that we've done. It's the show where we talk about a brand new piece of hardware that's come out. And it's been filmed in the fourth different location.
Gonna keep mixing up.
It was the old podcast setup, then it was webcams remotely, me and Ben in our bedrooms, then it was the new podcast setup, and now podcast room's busy, so here we are in the worst room.
Yeah, just a classic. We're gonna have to keep finding new places to shake it up, aren't we?
That's the precedent, is that like now there always has to be a new place, but we'll have to think about that. In the meantime, James, you can tell us all about the Evercade versus. They said VS.
The Evercade Vs. So Blaze Entertainment, they've made a retro-focused handheld, and that came out last year. So they are bringing out this winter the Evercade VS Versus. So it's a little home console version with up to 4-player local multiplayer. All of the old cartridges work perfectly well in there. And they've also brought out a selection of new ones that are sort of specifically designed for multiplayer. So, yeah, it's an interesting little window into the retro life again.
Yeah, because that's something that I felt because I covered the original Evercade when it came out, and I thought, I had a great time, but it is very much just a single player, sit at home and play with it in bed or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't just careful where your minds go with that. But it kind of lacked a multiplayer functionality in it. You do kind of feel like, some of these games would be really fun to play with your friends because they are all. Well, they're not all. Some of them are brand new. Occasionally, some actual like fresh software has been made for these games. But a lot of the library, certainly on the Evercade, is like classic stuff. It's things that you will have very much heard of, Atari and Namco, and
going back to the arcade classics.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the appeal of the whole thing is that it is an opportunity to play old stuff on a new piece of kit.
Yeah, so you've got you've got Pong, you've got Asteroids, you've got all of those like classic things. Adventure was one that I tried out as well. So that was just a single player thing, but it's always nice to look back on the olden days and you see, so with the UI you see a description and then it shows you the controls before you go in, and I assume it was very similar to
that's right.
The handheld. And you get just this sweeping description of like a land of dragons and castles and defeating these enemies and finding the key to save the world, and you drop in, and especially with Adventure, it's blocks. It's literally just blocks moving around. It's beautiful.
That same description in like a modern AAA game would be like a mind-blowing game with crazy photorealism, and then you play it on something like this, and it's like,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful in its own way, and and that's what the Versus offers really. I had that over the weekend plus an extra day or so.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's fairly fun. It's one of those where.
I was going to say, did you play some multiplayer? Is my big question.
Exactly. That's the key separator, really, the key selling point here. And got a decent amount of multiplayer in. So this pack that we have has got 2 controllers with it, and as you can see, it's pretty much the same, very similar setup to that, except it's got 2 shoulder buttons on each side.
Extra shoulder buttons.
Every game that I've played so far has not needed the extra shoulder buttons. Right. Most of them do not need them anyway, and it's one of those things where it's sort of introduced for maybe the 8-bit and 16-bit era games, or potentially like a new one.
Yeah.
But we played a fair few sort of multiplayer ones. So we got through the classics, we got through Pong. We tried to go through Asteroids, which was apparently 2-player, but we couldn't figure out how to activate it. I will say some of the very old ones, there was a strange one in it they seemed quite quick, a bit too quick. Pong was impossible.
Oh, really?
I don't know how people did it back in the day.
Right.
It's incredible. But so I played this with my partner, and we also, just to sort of get a range of people playing, on a Sunday night we went to visit my partner's parents for dinner, and we busted out the Evercade Versus. And her dad used to play some of the very sort of old school stuff. So we're talking Atari and whatnot. And it was for someone who used to game a decent amount and hasn't done fully for quite some time, and sort of jumping back into that, he had no problems at all, and he really enjoyed the majority of it.
Oh, good. So he felt like they sort of stood up to the test of time.
They were definitely one of those. So he made the same comment about Pong and other such things. It was definitely one of those where, he'll make comparisons. So it's perfect for that sort of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Absolutely, as you'd imagine, really. But yeah, also to see sort of from a perspective of these younguns over here that didn't grow up on these things and sort of looking back on them. It's very nice.
In terms of the hardware itself, you were saying before we stopped recording, this can be used as a controller, can't it? The original Evercade.
That's correct. Yeah. So there are a couple of interesting points with the hardware and the setup. So apparently you can use it as a controller. It's got 4 ports on the front.
Yes.
And you also have, if we open this up, you have steady, easy,
careful,
easy. You have 2. I don't know if you can see that. You have 2 cartridge slots.
Right.
So
just for ease of switching between.
Yeah, just so you have like a larger collection, a larger library in there.
Oh.
And it's quite interesting, really. It definitely saves sort of having to swap out everything all at once. So just seeing if there's any other like key points here.
Well, this I remember. In fact, it says it right in front of me is 720p HDMI. You can output it to your TV. So I was wondering whether, do you know if that is
the full 1080?
The full 1080. There you
go. Full 1080.
It's a real
baby.
upgrade.
Yeah.
So it sounds like if you do already have an Evercade, it probably is. I mean, if you enjoyed your Evercade experience, it probably is worth upgrading if you do want the multiplayer, higher fidelity or resolution, I suppose is a better word, and even just the convenience of having 2 carts in.
It's not too bad, is it? I mean, the other thing is like there are a few extra features, so like added effects with the UI. I think they may have like updated the UI somewhat, and so they've got different like you can either have it like pixel perfect, or 4:3 or full screen. A few different background options added in. The nice little sort of little extras in there as well. Apparently it also works with other third-party controllers. So potentially if you have like just an Xbox controller kicking about, a wired one, or just anything really.
Because these are USB, are they?
So these are simple USBs on the front and the back. So a couple of issues with setup. You can see the cables behind there. So it's pretty simple. So bam, zoom. Hopefully it's focusing. But so it's just a micro USB to a USB for plugging it in. But it was an odd one that I couldn't understand why they didn't include. They didn't include a plug socket adapter. Oh, there it goes.
There it goes.
Yeah. They didn't include a plug socket adapter with that micro USB power cable.
Right.
And he also didn't include a HDMI cable. And I wondered if at first, because this is an early build, like an early sort of package. Press pack. But I mean, given that there are in fact warnings. So if you're using your eyes, I think it's on this side. So it just says about it doesn't include that. But just be wary that you will have. It's something that most people will have. But it's an odd choice to leave out.
Yeah, you'd think it would come with it, but I guess probably the kind of person who's going to be investing in a retro kind of console
they'll have cables.
Is the kind of person who may have the odd spare cable lying around. But you're right, maybe there's probably isn't an assumption that should be made. But if that's one of the worst things you can say about it, it's not too
Exactly, yeah. I mean, other than that, the actual controls are very nice as well. Like it's a decent enough build. Like it feels very sort of satisfying to press. Like the D-pad's nice and easy to, you'd have like certain games like beat 'em ups and brawlers where you're sort of like circular motion, sliding across, and that works just as well on there. There was one, in fact, that so this was one of the newer games that I believe was released on the Evercade. So this was just a single player game. So was it Xeno Crisis? So Xeno Crisis and Tanglewood.
I played those.
Yeah, how did you find that?
I found Tanglewood was a bit. I think if I dedicated the time to it, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But it was a bit like I didn't really know what was happening. But I really enjoyed Xeno Crisis.
It's a lot of fun. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was really good.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And somehow they managed to make it work as like a twin stick shooter, despite having no sticks technically. I mean,
I remember playing that and enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, that was an interesting one in that they've got like a few, and I believe there's another cartridge as well that's predominantly like homebrew titles that have been released well after the original hardware. So those I think were developed for like homebrew Mega Drive.
Yeah, that's
they
right.
were homebrew Mega Drive games. So
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, other than that, I will say. The cable's very long as well, so it's useful for modern day like living room setups. Maybe a slight hazard if you have a pet cat or young kitten or something, maybe that will not stop playing with it. So it may be one of those that potentially it's maybe sacrilege. Maybe they could have made it a wireless thing.
A wireless controller. Oh,
I mean, it's not retro, is it?
That's
it's
a real
not,
toss-up. It's like the retro experience with the cable. I mean, even being able to switch between two carts on the fly.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays when we've got all our games installed on our consoles, you don't have to get up and like put a disc in.
That's true.
And so they're making their way towards modern experience there. You should have to get up every time you want to change the cart. That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
You should be tripping over cables.
Yeah.
You should be, enjoying it.
You should actually have to press the buttons on the TV to change things across. Like remotes, bloody hell.
You should be experiencing the power cuts that they had in the 70s. I mean,
3-day weeks.
It's a bit early for this, but
rolling blackouts.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, in terms of like a window into gaming history, it's definitely something that would appeal to anyone. That has the nostalgia, that remembers those old school games, and not necessarily like the really old like Atari ones, but also 8-bit and 16-bit. You've got Earthworm Jim in there. You've got like Dizzy. Dizzy has like 1 billion games on one of the carts. Not actually 1 billion games.
No. Citation needed.
Yes. But equally, it's one of those that if you're ever sort of interested in like. A window into the past.
Stuff that you missed.
Yeah,
that's
things
what I
that you
got
missed
out
as
of
well,
the
exactly.
original model. I thought, there's all these games that I know of and I've seen a lot of online and stuff, but I've never had them in my hand, and it's nice to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And to have so many. Like the library is huge. Really.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. I barely scratch the surface. I've got like 3 pages of very brief notes on each game. I'll pick out a few ones that I did enjoy. I mean, Food Fight was a lot of fun, so that's very much like an old, may have been on the Atari, but of that era.
Right.
Lots of fun. You just trying to get from one side to the other, and chucking food at other people. Very, very, very old school. River City Ransom. So I played Double Dragon and I played River City Ransom, that are both like side-scrolling brawlers. I think I mean they're both good. I think I preferred River City Ransom because it was slightly more goofy and you could do a couple more things with it. I think there was like a jump attack. Or I think they were varied attacks anyway.
Right.
I think you jump attack in both of them. Burger Time, amazing.
Burger Time, that's a classic.
Yeah. Played a thing called Wizard Fire. So this was another 2-player. And we played that during, our sort of our family meal get-together.
Family time,
Wizard Fire was sort of 16-bit, a lot more beautiful, and just Gauntlet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing, but like a bit more zoomed in and big sprites and everything. It's just very silly and crazy.
Right.
All sorts going on. But and also Sensible Soccer.
Oh yeah, well, of course. Yeah.
Love Sensible Soccer.
Move over FIFA.
Might be, exactly. Forget about FIFA, forget about eFootball.
Oh, yeah, well.
I mean, eFootball wishes it had.
I think it actually does.
Graphics
I think it really does.
At this point, but yeah.
Very good.
All in all, quite a nice little console, quite a nice little thing. Right?
Well, thank you, James, for giving us your thoughts and impressions on that.
Thank you for letting me play around with this beautiful little piece of kit.
No problem. And thank you to Blaze for sending both of these. This one over a year ago now. But yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
European units are coming out in early December, and then North American units are mid-January. So it's one of those things. And pricing-wise, you're looking at it's starting at $89.99 or $99.
That's a bargain.
So £89.99, $99. Yeah, and not too shabby.
Yeah, maybe give yourself a late Christmas present with it if you can't get one in time for the day.
Yeah, if you got any gift cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Gift cards under the table.
Blaze gift cards. My grandma always gives me a Blaze Entertainment gift card every year, so I'll be spending it on an episode.
Which happens, yeah. For years, finally we got something to spend on.
Exactly, yeah. I've been hoarding them for over 20 years now. Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for watching as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
And let us know if you're interested in the Evercade. Let us know in the comments if you're thinking of picking one up now. Yeah?
Do it.
I feel a bit inadequate
This
over
bad
here
boy.
now. Look at you with all
Slaps
that.
VS console.
And I've just got the Evercade.
Well, at least you can walk around it.
Yeah,
you can try on the bus.
True. Take on the bus.
Yeah.
All right.
But only on your own, no.
Yeah, wow. Story of my life. On my own, on the bus.
Oh no.
Right, bye everyone.
Bye.